When silence fills a room, most people immediately reach for their phone or turn on the television, desperate to fill the emptiness. But I want to ask you something. When did you last let silence simply stay? Not the silence of waiting or being ignored, but true silence, like an old, trusted friend who needs no words. After 86 years of living, I have come to understand that silence is never truly empty. Inside it lives real information, genuine protection, and a quiet power that no amount of noise can give you. Most people are giving this power away every single day without knowing it. In this video, I will share 5 teachings on sacred silence, not the silence of monks alone in mountain caves, and not something requiring years of difficult practice. These are teachings you can bring gently into your kitchen, your garden, your evening chair, beginning tonight if you wish. Each one carries a real purpose to protect your energy from being slowly drained by the world around you, to guard the inner peace you have worked hard to find, to help you move through each ordinary day without being quietly worn away by everything and everyone pulling at you. There is one teaching, however, that I have saved especially for the very end. The 5th one. It is the practice that changed my own life when I was well past 70, arriving during one of the heaviest seasons I have ever known. Most important things are always the simplest ones. Stay with me until the end, my friend. I believe what I share then will remain with you long after this video has finished and the screen has gone dark. I am Master Ming, and I have spent my life learning how to live more gently, more carefully, and with greater peace. If that is something you are also searching for, perhaps you will walk beside me here for a while and subscribe so we can continue this quiet journey together. Teaching 1. Silence protects what words destroy. The first teaching is this: silence is a protector, and most of us do not realize we need protecting until it is already too late. When I was a young student at the monastery, I was perhaps 19 years old, full of energy and opinion. There was an elder monk named Brother Tao. He was not the wisest man I ever knew in my life, but he was the most careful with his words of anyone I have ever met. One afternoon, 2 monks were arguing loudly in the courtyard, voices raised high, old grudges rising to the surface like stones uncovered after a long rain. Everyone around them stood watching in silence. I wanted very much to step in. I had a strong opinion about who was right. I began moving forward. Brother Tao put one quiet hand gently on my arm. He shook his head slowly, just once. We stood there together in stillness until the argument dissolved entirely on its own. Afterward, he told me something I have never once forgotten. He said, "The word you do not speak can never become a wound." I have turned that sentence over in my mind for more than 60 years. How many times in my own life did I speak when I should have remained still? How many small fires became larger fires simply because I added my breath to them when I did not need to? There is a kind of silence that has nothing to do with weakness. It is discipline. It is the quiet and conscious decision to protect the moment, to protect the relationship, and to protect yourself from words that cannot be called back once they have left your mouth and entered another person's heart. Here's a small and simple practice for this. When you feel the urge to speak, especially when you are upset or when someone near you is upset and pulling at you, try this one thing instead. Take one slow breath, just one. Let it travel all the way down and all the way out before you open your mouth. In that small space, that single quiet breath, ask yourself honestly, will this word I am about to speak build something, or will it break something? You do not need to be silent forever. You only need to be silent long enough to make a real choice. This is how silence becomes a shield, not for hiding behind, for protecting what matters most to you and to the people you love. Teaching 2. Silence reveals what noise conceals. The second teaching is this. Silence shows us what we cannot see when we are busy and full of movement. Many years ago, I lived for a season near a small river. It was narrow enough that you could step across it in 3 careful steps when the dry season came. I used to rise early in the mornings and walk to that river alone, not to think about anything in particular, not to plan my day or solve a problem, simply to sit beside the moving water and be completely still. The first few mornings, I noticed nothing that seemed especially important. The sound of water over stone, some birds beginning their day, my own slow breathing. But after many mornings of returning to that same spot, something gently shifted inside me. I began to hear beneath those surface sounds. I began truly to hear myself. Not my surface thoughts exactly, something deeper and quieter than thoughts. A calm inner voice that had been patiently trying to reach me for a very long time but could not get through all the noise. It told me I was tired in a way that sleep alone could not fix. It told me I was carrying something heavy that I did not actually need to carry. It told me things I had not been willing to hear while I remained busy. This is the most honest gift that silence can offer us. It is like allowing muddy water to finally settle and become still. When you keep stirring it without stopping, you can never see the bottom, no matter how long you look. But when you stop moving, when you allow yourself to become truly still, the mud slowly and naturally sinks away. The water clears. And you can see all the way to the bottom of things. Many of us have been living our entire lives in perpetually stirred water, never once discovering what rests at the bottom, because we have never allowed it the stillness it needs to become clear. Here is how to begin this practice. Choose a small and honest window of time. Even 10 minutes is more than enough at the start. Sit somewhere you will genuinely not be interrupted. No phone nearby, no music, no television in the background. Simply sit. When thoughts arrive, and many will come, that is natural and perfectly fine. Do not chase them and do not try to force them away. Simply notice them, the way you might notice clouds drifting slowly across a wide sky above you. They come and they go on their own. You do not have to follow every cloud that passes overhead. You are the open sky, not the passing cloud. The restlessness you feel in those first quiet minutes is itself information worth having. It is showing you honestly how much noise you have been using, without knowing it, to avoid your own quiet company. Be patient with this. The river does not clear in a single minute, but given enough stillness, it always does. Teaching 3, silence is a shield against other people's storms. The third teaching is one I had to learn slowly and sometimes painfully across many years of living among others. Silence protects you from being pulled helplessly into storms that were never yours to enter. In my village, when I was a middle-aged man still learning many things, there was a woman whom everyone in the village knew and called Auntie Fong. She was one of the most generous people I have ever known. Generous almost to the full point of her own destruction. And if anyone nearby was angry, she was immediately there to absorb every bit of it into herself. If anyone was grieving, she carried that grief inside her own chest for the entire week that followed. If the neighbor 2 doors down argued with her husband on a Tuesday evening, Auntie Fong could not find sleep on Wednesday night. She believed with her whole heart that this was what kindness looked like, and perhaps deep at the root of it, love was truly there, but she was slowly and quietly disappearing into other people's weather. By the time I came to know her well, she had the tired look of someone who had spent decades being everyone else's shelter without ever once learning to become her own. I sat with her one calm afternoon over tea. She told me she did not know how to stop taking on what others carried. I told her something I want to share with you now. Caring deeply and absorbing completely are two very different things. You can love someone with your whole heart without becoming their weather. When someone near you is pulling you toward their anger or their chaos, your silence in that moment is not coldness or indifference. It is protection for yourself and quietly for them as well. Not every fire in the world needs your breath to keep it burning. When someone in your life arrives like a storm, when you feel that old familiar pull to fix things, to argue back, to rise and meet their energy with your own, try something different. Take 3 slow and deliberate breaths. Soften your face on purpose. Relax the muscles you did not know were tight. Do not shrink away in fear, but do not expand outward to meet their storm either. Simply hold your own quiet space and allow their weather to move through the room without making it your own. You may find something surprising. When you do not become their echo, when you offer stillness instead of reaction, their storm very often passes more quickly than it would have otherwise, and without exception, every single time, you will emerge from the moment with more of yourself still whole and intact. A bamboo bends deeply and fully in the wind, but it does not become the wind. It returns to itself when the wind has passed. We are now at the halfway point of our time together today, and before I go further, I want to gently remind you of what is still waiting at the end of this video. The 5th teaching, the one I mentioned at the very beginning, is the most personal and most tender thing I would share with you today. It is a practice I discovered quietly and alone when I was 73 years old, in the middle of a long and difficult season of loss and sleepless nights, when I needed it most. I will tell you the full story when we finally arrive there together. But before we continue, I want to offer you a simple question. Take a quiet moment with it, if you can. Ask yourself, honestly, without any judgment at all, when did you last sit in true silence, without reaching for your phone, without filling the space with the noise of a screen, without letting your mind run immediately to tomorrow's worries or yesterday's regrets? When did you last allow yourself to simply be, without doing anything at all? If that question is difficult to answer, I want you to know I am not asking it to make you feel that you have failed at something. I am asking because that difficulty, that small discomfort of not being able to answer easily, is the very reason today's teachings matter as much as they do. Let us continue forward. Teaching 4, the sacred pauses. The 4th teaching is about transitions, the quiet and often overlooked spaces that exist between one part of your day and the next. We finish a meal and reach immediately for the phone before the last bite has settled. We end a difficult conversation and turn on something loud to fill the silence it leaves behind. We receive hard or unexpected news and immediately try to act, to plan, to move, anything to escape the weight of simply sitting with what we have just been given. But these in-between moments are not wasted time. They are, in fact, where the body and the mind carry out some of their most necessary and invisible work. Years ago, a student came to stay at the monastery for 1 week. He was a busy man, a professional, carrying the weight of many responsibilities. He had not slept with any real peace in several years. On the first morning, I asked him to walk me through what his evenings looked like. He told me he ate dinner quickly, often while standing and reading something on his phone at the same time. Then he watched television until he was too tired to keep his eyes open. Then he went to bed, exhausted in his body, but entirely unable to quiet his mind. It would not stop, he told me. I said to him very simply, "Your mind is not broken. It has simply never once been given a proper transition. You have been moving from one thing directly and immediately into the next, like a train that never slows down and never stops at any station along the way. Even trains need stations. We began with something very small and very manageable. After each meal, he sat still for 5 minutes. No phone in his hand, no screen in front of him, no planning for what came next. Just the quiet and simple awareness of having eaten a meal. Just his own breath, rising and falling. Just the understanding, offered gently to himself, that the meal was finished and everything waiting for him could wait 5 more minutes. By the third day of this small practice, he told me he already felt something different moving through him, not because anything in his life had actually changed, but because for the first time in years he had given his mind a genuine moment to catch up with his body before immediately handing it the next task. Here are 3 moments in each ordinary day where you can practice this sacred pause. After eating, sit for 5 quiet minutes before you move on to whatever comes next. Simply let your body receive what you have just given it. After any conflict or difficult conversation, do not immediately phone someone to process it aloud, and do not immediately reach for a distraction. Sit with the feeling for a few minutes first. Let it move through you the way a cloud moves through open sky. It will not harm you to feel it quietly and briefly. And after receiving any kind of difficult news, before you act, before you begin making plans, before you search for answers, give yourself a few minutes of honest and unhurried receiving. Not everything needs to be immediately solved. Some things ask only to be held with gentleness for a little while before you decide what to do next. Teaching. 5. The evening offering, the saved. Tip. And now we have arrived at last, the 5th teaching, the one I have been holding for you since the beginning of our time together today. I want to tell you the story of where this practice came from in my own life, because without the story, the practice is only half of what it truly is. When I was 73 years old, I moved through a long and heavy season that I did not know how to carry well. My closest friend, a monk who had walked quietly beside me through nearly 50 years of this life, had died. His absence was present everywhere I turned, in every familiar corner of the place we had shared. My body was also changing in ways I could no longer ignore or pretend were not happening, as all bodies do when enough years have passed. And each evening, when I finally sat down to rest, the entire day would come flooding back in all at once. The worries that had no solutions yet, the things I had left unfinished, words I wished I had chosen differently, old grief and new grief arriving together without invitation. My mind at night had become a room where everything that had ever happened was still somehow happening, all at the same time, all equally loud. I was very tired, and yet true rest would not come to me. One evening, I remember clearly that it was raining outside, a soft and steady rain against the window. I did something different from what I had been doing. Instead of lying down and struggling against my own restless mind, I sat upright in my small room. I lit a single candle, and I spoke quietly and honestly to the silence around me. I said, "Here is what today brought," and then I named everything. The grief that was still fresh, the worry about my aging body, the small frustrations I had carried through the hours, but also the good and gentle things, a moment of unexpected golden light in the garden that morning, a cup of tea that tasted exactly as it should, a kind and unexpected word from a young student passing in the corridor. I named it all, the heavy and the light together. And then, and this is the part that I believe changed everything for me that night, I said the words aloud into the quiet room. I am finished with this day now. I offer it all to the silence. And I leaned forward and blew out the small candle. I cannot say with complete certainty why it worked as it did. Perhaps the act of naming everything made it real and therefore finished, like closing a book properly at the end of a chapter. Perhaps the candle gave my mind something physical and visible to release when the flame went out. Perhaps simply speaking the words "I am finished" gave something deep and tired inside me the honest permission it had been waiting for. But that night, I slept deeply and without interruption for the first time in many long months. Here is how to bring this practice gently into your own evenings. You do not need any particular belief. You do not need a candle, though I have always found one helpful as something for the eyes and the mind to rest upon and then release. Before you lie down to sleep, sit quietly for a few minutes, wherever you feel comfortable in your room. Carry out this small ceremony in 3 honest parts. First, release. Name quietly, silently, inside yourself or in a soft whisper, what today brought that felt heavy or unresolved. Not to dwell inside it or pull it apart looking for answers, only to acknowledge it plainly, the way you might set something down carefully on a table, no longer holding it in your arms. Second, receive. Name one single thing that carried some goodness today, just one moment of warmth or beauty or unexpected kindness, one thing that reminded you, however quietly, that life holds more than its difficulties. This is not pretending the day was easy when it was not. It is simply refusing to allow the weight of the day to be the only honest truth about it. Third, rest. Say to yourself, in whatever words come naturally, I have done what I was able to do today. What remains unfinished will still be there in the morning and can wait until then. This day is now complete, and I am finished with it. Then lie down slowly. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, long and unhurried, as though each exhale is releasing the last remaining weight of the day from your body. You may not sleep immediately. That is completely fine. This practice was never about forcing sleep to come on command. It is about offering yourself the genuine and well-deserved permission to stop, to truly stop. Over time, with patience and repetition, your body will begin to trust that signal. It will learn to recognize when we do this small and honest ceremony together, the day is genuinely over, and it will let go. My friend, we have walked together through 5 teachings today. Silence as a protector of the things and the people we love most. Silence as a clear mirror that shows us what all our noise keeps carefully hidden from us. Silence as a steady shelter from storms that were never ours to carry into our own bodies. Silence as the sacred and necessary pause between one part of life and the next. And the evening offering, the small, quiet, deeply dignified ceremony you can give yourself each night before you sleep. None of these are grand or complicated practices. No one in your life will see you doing them. But I have come to believe, after all my years, that this is precisely the point. The most powerful and lasting things we ever do for ourselves are always the quiet ones. The invisible acts of honest self-kindness that take place in stillness, witnessed by no one but the silence itself. There is a teaching I have returned to again and again throughout my long life. The river does not announce its own depth to those who pass by. It has no need to. Those who are patient enough to sit quietly beside it long enough simply come to know. You are that river, and silence is the most generous gift you can offer yourself. The space and the stillness to discover how deep, how calm, and how full of quiet and enduring strength you truly are beneath the surface of your days. You have lived a long and full life. You have given generously of yourself to the world and to the people you have loved. You deserve now, perhaps more completely and more honestly than at any earlier time, the protection and the genuine peace that your own sacred silence can offer you each day. May you find, in each small quiet moment you allow yourself to enter, a little more of who you have always truly been. May the noise of the world settle gently around you and trouble you a little less with each day that passes. And may your nights be soft and forgiving. May sleep come to you the way a quiet rain finally arrives after a long dry season, unhurried, natural, and deeply welcome. Go gently, my friend. I am truly glad you were here with me today. Please tell me in the comments below, which of these 5 teachings will you try first this evening? I read every word left there, and what you share matters to me more than I can easily say. If you would like to continue walking this path together, please subscribe and stay close. Next time, we will explore something I believe every person over 60 truly deserves to understand. While forgiveness has never really been about the other person at all, in a quiet and surprising way, it begins to heal the body that has been carrying the weight of the old wound. Until then, be well, be still, and be very kind to yourself.